Yes. Just looking at this page 3 of 6. Yes. As I mentioned, we hadn't talked about this before. Right. If if I can't interfere with the petitioner's physical and legal custody, yes, and you won't when you know of child abuse, kidnapping, and child exploitation, I would say it's fraudulent to call yourselves law enforcement. Oh. Now, I was restrained from moving from the state the minors named in the table above. Yes, but I never had them. I haven't been able to speak to them for 7.5 years. Yes. Now, this was interesting because every time you put no contact until there's a mental health evaluation of respondent and treatment if recommended. Mm-hmm. But look what this had right here. Respondent shall participate in treatment and counseling as follows. Yes. I never noticed it before. Yep. Domestic Violence Perpetrator Treatment Program approved under RCW 26.50.150. Yeah. Or counseling at. Parenting classes at. Oh, drug and alcohol treatment at. Now, I actually did 7 hours of parenting classes. Yes. I don't know why I never saw it before. But today I'm seeing it. Ooch. And you would have thought that that would have satisfied the requirements of the court. Yes, considering the arrest that took place on Guam. Now, these parenting classes that I did because Heidi made up a story, right, and Heidi committed the domestic violence. I think it's fraudulent for you as a court to not take into consideration the parenting classes. Yes. See, your thought was, well, mental health evaluation, and where did you expect that I was going to do that at? Brent, Bayston. Let's look at it again. How about this for fraud as actual evidence? Ouch. How about this? Oh, and this. Ouch. And every signature that my wife did not use her actual signature to sign, but somebody named Georgia did, or some other lookalike. Ouch. How about the fraud of issuing temporary protection orders for 48 days? Yes. Reissuing protection orders before the law allowed you to. How about serving me fraudulently in the Squim Public Library by an individual that had no right to the private information of myself and my sons? Now, who's this? Who else did you serve other than myself? Because I think it's fraudulent to serve anyone other than just the respondent. Now, look at all the mental health evaluations that you made me do. And this one says I'm delusional. But this evidence that is a requirement of the 30%? Yes. I think that every school district of the United States of America, because I emailed a lot of them. I emailed the Port Angeles School District, the Squim School District. Ouch. Sufficient to provide a basis for the allegations of fraud. Ouch. Now, how do I know this is not a lottery? How do I know that as a realtor? Yes. That there's some real documented evidence of real fraud. Oh, and you as the sheriff's department. I told you to give me my sons. You're being stupid. So I'm gonna kick your fucking balls in for the rest of the. Listen, you idiots. You might have badges on, but you're not a sheriff's department. Do you understand? Now, I actually have the evidence of a lot of fraud documented in 2,300,000 emails. And for every fucking time that you decided to be assholes, I'm going to keep. Well, let's look at it, okay? Oh, the FCA requires a relator, yes, to provide the United States with material evidence and information supporting the allegation of the relator's complaint. Yes, it does. Now, let's see. This is so important. This is something that you as police departments don't understand. The who, what, where, why, and how of the alleged fraud. In other words, it should be relator's disclosure statement. Like the complaint, it is supposed to support and should provide evidence sufficient to demonstrate, yes, the who. committed the fraud? Pooh. Brent Baisden, the court commissioner, pooh. The court clerk, yes. The sheriff, the police chiefs, the superintendents of schools, pooh. The what? What was the fraud? Well, my wife moved to Clallam County, yes, and you did not give me any notice or opportunity to be heard. You had no jurisdiction to issue a protection order, yes, and I was never arrested in Washington State for domestic violence. So you had no jurisdiction to obligate me to any additional requirements. You didn't have any. You never had any authority of law. So the what of the fraud? Yes. The what of the fraud is that you were issuing dissolutions of marriage. You were issuing, you were arresting, you were violating. Then there's the when. Ooch, when did this happen? Well, we had July 8th of 2011. We had the arrest that took place on July 2nd of 2011. Yes. We had the issuance of a protection order on August 12th of 2011. Yeah. I think that I have the greatest number of documented frauds in the history of the United States of America. And you fucking bumbling idiots, Coach. You're a fraudulent police department that doesn't enforce the laws because you just can't admit to any wrongdoing. Now, let's look at it because I'm not in a hurry. Where? Where did this fraud happen? It happened in the family court of Brent Baisden. It happened in Judge Porter's courtroom. Yes. It happened in the police department when I talked to Officer Johnson and I said, I want my sons, yes, and I want my civil rights. And he said, talk to the public defender, the same public defender, yes, that would not admit the evidence that I was on the bus of the morning of December 31st of 2015. Do you think you're fucking funny, officer? Who, what, where, when? When did the fraud happen? When the police department told me to speak to my public defender, and I told the police officer to speak to the chief of police. Now, Brian Smith is the chief of police of Port Angeles. When did the fraud happen, chief of police? Oh, when did the fraud happen? The fraud happened when you decided that you would not do what the law requires. Yes, you wouldn't require a signature of the petitioner. You would use forgeries to issue court orders. Coach, you would use forgeries to issue court orders, Commissioner. Yes. You would use lookalikes and dogs. Yes. And then you would say, right now, when, who, what, where, when, and how of the fraud. Oh,